Hello and welcome to this episode of Microchips. So for a while now I've been looking at buying an Ft-891 and I saw one on Facebook Marketplace, quite reasonably priced. So I thought, okay, go on then, I'll give it a go. So I contacted the seller, obviously asked him if it was fully working. He's like, yeah, no problem, I don't sell rubbish, it's fully working, in great condition. So I was still had reservations, but I thought, okay, fair enough. So I paid him the money, and he sent me pictures of the parcel, sent me pictures of the tracking information, and sure enough, it come before one next day delivery, which I was quite happy about. So I opened the packaging, very well packaged, opened the box, there was the radio, everything seemed in order, it was in good condition, front was in good condition, all the accessories were there that come with it. So in my eagerness I set it up, plugged it in, went down onto one of my favourite channels, which was 555, and found one of the local stations that was there. I shouted him and I immediately got back, "You've got a horrible buzz on your audio." I was like, okay. So I tried again and he's like, "No, can't understand you, audio's buzzing horribly." At which point I thought, this is really strange. So at which point I put it into a dummy load, listened on a local radio, and sure enough I had a horrible hum on the audio. And the hum seemed to change when I touched the case, the hum seemed to change when I went anywhere near the microphone, the hum seemed to change basically if I touched any metalwork near the radio. This was just on transmit and it was on all modes. At which point I was like, this is really bizarre. None of my other radios buzz when they transmit. So let's do some diagnostics. So I was thinking, is it a grounding issue? Have I got a ground loop? Have I got a ground hum somewhere? So after a lot of messing about, I had the radio connected onto a separate power supply, just the radio on another power supply, connected up to a dummy load, transmitted 5 watts into a dummy load, and listening on a local radio, I had this hum, and it was really bad, and it was going worse and better if you touched the metal case and if you went anywhere near the microphone lead. At which point I was at my wit's end. I didn't know what to do because I'd practically eliminated everything in my shack. There was nothing else that I could do. I was on the verge of buying a new microphone, but I continued out the lead on the microphone to check for any broken cables. There was nothing. Everything was fine. The inside of the microphone was absolutely fine. There was nothing broken or missing or loose. I was at the end. I didn't know what to do. The only thing I could do was take the lid off the radio, just to see if there was anything inside the radio that would show me what the problem was. So I took the bottom off, which has got the RF amplifier stage, and everything looked good on the RF amplifier side of the board. So then I took the top of the radio off and my heart sank. You know when you get that feeling, I've just been scammed really badly. The guys sent me something that has been clearly messed about with, and I had that sinking feeling. Anyway, this is what I found. I saw this behind the microphone socket, barely attached to the circuit board. I mean, I just touched it and it come off. I mean, what the hell? Why? How? What? Oh my god. I mean, what sort of buffoon has put this there? I mean, what's it supposed to do? So I thought, okay, here we go. We've got a problem. Here's our problem. But how am I going to solve this problem? I mean, I could message the seller back and say, "Oi, you've sold me a dud here," but I can, imagine what his reply would be. It'd be a case of, "Well, the radio was fine when I sent it to you. What are you doing taking the top off? You must have done it. You're not getting your money back." I could just see it. These things happen when you buy stuff like that. I mean, it was inevitable. So I thought it's pointless even trying to, get hold of the seller and say that he sold me a dud. So the only other option was to try and fix it myself. Was I going to send it off to Yaesu for repair? I mean, if Yaesu looked at what was in there, they'd just laugh at me, and probably charge me for a whole new board. So a closer look at the board around this area, there was a wire link which was barely attached, and it looks like it was connected to a trace, and there was work on these components here. Now, no idea what these components did or what they were for, but hopefully Yaesu have a service manual. So that was the next thing. Let's have a look at the service manual, see if we can find one and see what these components do. So after finding the schematic diagram and the service manual, we found a board layout, and cross-referencing we found that FB1038 was missing. Now this looks like a filter to me, which could be blown, that's why they've tried to link it out. But also there's a trace that runs underneath the microphone socket. Has this trace been damaged? And also we have C1663 and R1619 that looks like they've been messed about with. So my first thing was to check all the rest of the filters, and all the rest of the filters, all the FBs were working. So the next port of call was an actual circuit diagram. So if we look at FB1038, sure enough it's a ground. Okay, is that broken? Do we need to look at that? So I was looking down, and then we have on pin 4 of the microphone socket have mic G, which is mic ground. I was thinking, could this be the problem? So following pin 4 across, we come to R6169, which is a 0 ohm link, resistor, whatever you like to call it, going to ground. Could this be our problem? So back to the radio and back to measuring with the multimeter. So here is R1619, the 0 ohm link or resistor. Can't really call it a resistor, but a 0 ohm link. That's where it is, and it looks like it's been messed with. Well, it looks like it's been soldered to. So let's try it with a multimeter. Sure enough, one side connects to ground and the other side doesn't. So this component is open circuit. So it looks like we've found an issue. R1619 coming off pin 4 of the microphone socket is open, and we've got some really dodgy work on FB1038. So let's attend to these and see whether this actually cures our problem. So looking at FB1038, it does indeed connect to ground, which is fine, but then it drifts off underneath the microphone socket to a via, which then connects to the actual one of the pins on the microphone socket. So seeing that the actual wire link that was there wasn't really soldered, and as soon as I touched it, it just come off in my hand, taking off the remains of whatever trace was connected to FB1038. I think we need to get the board out, we need to get the microphone socket off, we need to inspect what's left of the trace and whether we can actually do anything with it and repair it somehow. So I took the board out, and sure enough, the trace had gone. But underneath the board, the actual pin sat conveniently next to a component, which then I could just run a small wire link from the actual pin to the component, which was a capacitor connected to ground, and that restored our main ground. Now the one on the top of the board was a little bit easier because the component was still there, and all I had to do was just bridge a solder connection across the ground, which was conveniently next to it, and that restored the microphone ground. Now all those burn marks on the back of the socket, they were not me, they were the cowboy who'd been in there before. I don't know what they've been trying to solder with. Maybe it was like, I don't know, a massive big red hot poker or something. But anyway, I did that and put the radio together and give it a test, and sure enough, the fault had gone. We had a working radio at long last. So I got some reports from one of my local amateur radio friends who said, yep, the audio is absolutely perfect. I went and spoke to the guy who I'd spoke to on 555 before, and he said, I didn't even realise it was you with that buzz, but now your audio is perfect. So a couple of days later it is now, after doing this, and I've managed to work out how you actually work the radio. We've set up the microphone equalisation, we've turned the compressor on, the speech processor, we've got the radio a little bit more tamed, and it does actually sound very good now. It sounds absolutely beautiful. It's receiving absolutely beautifully, it's transmitting beautifully. I've had long QSOs on the 10 metre amateur bands with it, and I'm very, very happy now. So, lesson learnt, don't trust anybody on Facebook Marketplace. Well, I suppose you can trust them, but you know, it's so easy to get scammed. And you know, when I opened it up and saw that train wreck that was behind the microphone socket, my heart sank. I was like, I've been sold a dud, I've just wasted a load of money. But luckily we've managed to fix it with the aid of a schematic diagram and a couple of blobs of solder. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.